I am sick, by the way, of pretending that the stuff that I like is cool stuff. I don't like anything cool. I'm really excited for the day I can finally stop pretending to hate Coldplay. I love Coldplay. I love and occasionally someone trying to be sympathetic will be like, oh yeah, the early stuff is good. And I'm like, no, all of it. And like, I was sitting in a car and Coldplay came on and the driver of the car went, ugh, Coldplay. And I had to be like, yeah, I hate music that makes it feel like you can do anything. And, you know, I like uncool stuff. I went to see Josh Groban a couple of weeks ago, and screw you for the judgment on your face. I went to see Josh Groban. Not a girlfriend took me, not an aunt who likes it. I went to see Josh Groban. And I enjoyed it. He sang for 2 hours at twilight outside Portland in an outdoor venue. It was magical. He sings in 4 different languages. He did Pure Imagination for Willy Wonka. I cried, and I got into the car. I got into an Uber feeling fulfilled, and the Uber driver ruined my bliss with 3 words. He said, who is playing tonight? And I said, Josh Groban. And he just went, guilty pleasure. And I said, what? And I swear to God, he went, okay. And I said, why should I feel guilty? Huh? And he went, okay. And I said, why should I feel guilty? For seeing a once-in-a-generation talent sing timeless classics? And he didn't respond. And then I said something that I'm genuinely sure is the most embarrassing thing I've ever said. I crossed my arms, and after this, we were quiet for the rest of the ride. I crossed my arms, and I just went, you can't help what gives you goosebumps. The worst tattoo I've ever seen is this. I worked with a girl at KFC. Long story. And everyone called her Jennifer 9/11. Hold on. It's way worse than you think. She had a tattoo on her lower back of the Twin Towers and the words never forget. First of all, boner killer. Second of all, that means that at some point in her life, she walked into a tattoo, presumably after 9/11, otherwise it's crazy. She walked into a tattoo parlor and was like, I want a permanent reminder of the saddest day in American history. And they were like, Gettysburg? And she's like, no. More recent. And they're like, 9/11. All right, where do you want it? And she's like, it should be a reminder. And they're like, yeah. She's like, should remind me every day. And they're like, yeah. Where do you want it? And she's like, well, what's the one part of my body I could never see ever unless I had a neck like an owl? But here's why it's really horrifying / great. Because time isn't always kind to people's bodies. And eventually, her skin is gonna sag. And those Twin Towers are gonna collapse again. So it's less of a reminder and more of a reenactment. It's been a weird few weeks, though. I was involved in a breakup last month. No, it wasn't my breakup. No. I was at a Starbucks, and there was a couple sitting behind me, and I got involved in the breakup. It was a guy and a girl. I was sitting there, I was reading a book called Purity by Jonathan Franzen, which is a really good book, but it's not more interesting than hearing someone go, give me one good reason we shouldn't go out anymore, Michelle. And I was like, this can close. And the whole Starbucks was like, is this a public breakup? Like, we've heard the legends, but is this happening in front of us? And my first thought was like, who breaks up in person? Right? You stop texting, you unfriend, they go away. It's how it works. She was clearly the one doing the breaking up because he said, give me one good reason we shouldn't go out anymore. And by the way, she misheard him. Because he said, give me one good reason, and she heard, give me 35 reasons in a row, in public, as loudly as possible. And all of these reasons were variations on, you're not smart enough for me. She could have just said that. She didn't. She took a scenic route. He's like, give me one good reason we shouldn't go out anymore, Michelle. She's like, you're not smart enough for you, not educated for you, not mature enough for you, not emotionally mature enough for you, not sophisticated enough for you, taste in music bad, taste in clothing is like, look at you. Like, can't remember like last time I picked up a book or magazine or court. You're not intellectually curious. Your vocabulary isn't as extensive as I would like. And you're not very erudite. And you could see the whole Starbucks be like, he said one reason. And you could see the poor guy like wanting to argue with her, but also thinking like, what does erudite mean? And this is where I stepped in. She said, hey, Kev, which by the way, that is enough of a reason for me. Hey, Kev, we should just be friends. That is the worst possible start to a friendship. Hey, I never want to have sex with you ever again. Here's a laundry list of reasons you're one of the dumbest people I've ever met. Also, we should hang out sometime. And I turned around in a crowded Starbucks. I couldn't help myself, and I went, he has enough friends. And the whole Starbucks stopped live tweeting the breakup, and they're like, what the fuck is happening now? And this guy sold me out immediately. He went, he's not with me. And I was so caught up in the moment that I was like, Kev, I'm with you all the way. I went to New York University for college. Went to NYU. I paid for my education $191,000. I'm sorry. For my education, I owe $191,000. And by the way, NYU has no campus. I didn't know that. It was the only school I got into. And I showed up on the first day, and I dropped my stuff off at the dormitory, and I was like, where's the campus? And the RA giving the tour went, what campus? And I said, the college's campus. And I swear to God, this guy, his name was Thrace. I'll never forget this. Thrace went, Alex, the city is your campus. And I said, I don't know if you know this, Thrace, but I did a Google, and last year there were 188 murders on campus. That would be a deal breaker at any other college. If you were taking a tour of University of Michigan and someone's like, University of Michigan is pretty great. We've had 2 U.S. presidents pass through these hallowed halls. We have 5 different fabulous schools. We have the big house, which seats more than 100,000 rabid football fans. There is one thing. Every 2 days, someone gets shot in the face, but it's not a big deal. It does happen on campus. $191,000. And the reason I paid that was because someone's like, you can't get a job without a degree. And like, as it turns out, you can't get a job with a degree, but no one told me that. I studied philosophy I studied philosophy and classics. I thought classics was classic rock. It's not classic rock. It's Greek stuff. You can't get a job with Greek stuff. You can't walk into an office with a resume and be like, hi, I'm here to apply for the position of Zeus. Because they'll be like, Zeus is not an entry-level position. You start a Hermes and you gotta work your way up. You know what I could have bought for $191,000? For $191,000, I could have bought 2 lions. What makes more of an impression in a job interview? A degree from a liberal arts university in philosophy or 2 goddamn lions? You walk in holding them on golden leashes and you sit down for your interview. And the guy's like, what are you looking for in the position? Oh, we're looking for someone with leadership skills. I am head of the Pride. What do you bring to this company? 2 lions. This is Thor, and this is Mufasa.